I'm here with Gina Buccola, talking about her time as scholar-in-residence at the Chicago Shakespeare Theater. So I guess my first question would be, as the scholar-in-residence, what do you spend your day doing?
Well, I don't spend every day. I spend most of my time here at Roosevelt, but mostly what I do when I'm at the theater is one of a few things. So the first thing that I do is I work with teachers from the Chicago Public Schools who are bringing their students to see productions of plays there, or who are just teaching Shakespeare in the schools and want some helpful information. So one of the things that the theater does is in their education department they produce a teacher handbook for every single play that they put up there. And then they also have, before each of the plays opens on the main stage, and in the studio space too, they have a teacher workshop on a Saturday morning, bright and early at 8:30 in the morning, where the teachers can come, and I do an hour-long or so presentation suggesting teaching strategies and then also scholarly resources that the teachers might want to have. And then they also, it's really a cool workshop, they get to have time with the director usually too, and talk about how the show was designed and how it was put together the way it was, and things that they might want to watch for when they bring their students to see it. So I do those. I also do pre-show talks with a team of other scholars, it's not just me, before the matinee performances of the shows. So I do those too. And then the other thing that I do as scholar-in-residence is annual or sometimes biannual discussions with the board members. So at the end of February this month, I'm going to be doing one of those, a sort of talk, sort of a special lecture for the donors.
Very busy. Is it unusual for a city, not just Chicago, to have a dedicated Shakespeare theater?
Yeah, it kind of is. I mean, they're becoming more and more common, and there are sort of not only Shakespeare theaters, but recreations of theaters from Shakespeare's time getting built sort of in increasing numbers of cities. So, for example, San Diego has the Old Globe. It's a sort of reconstruction of the Globe Theater, just like the one in London, which also has a reconstructed Globe. And then that's Shakespeare's outdoor theater. There's also a reconstruction of the Blackfriars, which was his indoor theater in Stanton, Virginia, in the Shenandoah Valley. And that's where the American Shakespeare Center is, and they have a biannual conference where they do original practices for the indoor theater companies, meaning they try to use costuming and techniques, acting techniques, and so forth that they used in Shakespeare's time in the indoor theaters.
I know this is a question that you can probably spend hours answering. I don't want to take up any more of your time than I need to, but why Shakespeare? What kindled this passion for Shakespeare?
Well, I actually think that it's in part two things. Like, on the one hand, I'm a poet in addition to being really interested in theater and performance art and performance studies. And so Shakespeare offers both of those things in one package. You know, so there are embedded sonnets in Romeo and Juliet, and you have blank verse drama, but it's also drama. So I have poetry and plays combined there. But also, I already loved Shakespeare when I was in college. And I applied, heading into my senior year of college, for an English-speaking union scholarship. So this is an organization that their sort of mission statement is to foster community among the English-speaking nations of the world, and one of the ways that they do that is via these scholarships. And so you could apply to study at either Oxford or at the Shakespeare Institute in Stratford, where Shakespeare was born. And so I pursued that, and I think in part I got the scholarship because not many people applied to that one, they mostly applied to Oxford. So I lived for 7 weeks in the summer of 1990 in Stratford and got to meet all these really fantastic scholars and actors. We saw all of the plays that were on stage at the Royal Shakespeare Company that summer, including, I mean, some really amazing productions. So John Wood was in King Lear that summer, and Kieran Hines, who's now gone on to be in all these films, was in their productions of Troilus and Cressida and Marlowe's Edward II that were on stage there. So it was a really cool experience, and we had private sessions with the actors and the directors and all this kind of stuff. And I got to do all this research at the Stratford Shakespeare Institute and write a paper and a tutorial, program, and just bop around the Cotswolds, like looking at Anne Hathaway's cottage and all this kind of stuff. So it was a really fantastic experience. But already having been kind of a Shakespeare geek, it really just kind of clinched everything. Like it was all over then. Like I was sold.
A little push over the edge, the nudge. just have to spin it back to Roosevelt here, is as the scholar in residence, has that impacted teaching Shakespeare at the university?
Absolutely. So for example, this semester, James is in a class with me called Teaching Shakespeare. That's a new course that I've developed here just this semester. And in part, I'm drawing in there not only on my own experience teaching Shakespeare for a lot of years, but also on the things I've learned working with high school and elementary school teachers about strategies that work for them in the classroom and so forth. And so that's one of the things that we're talking about in the course, is all the different levels at which one can teach Shakespeare and the different strategies that work best in all those different contexts. And then the other thing that I do is I always, every semester when I'm teaching Shakespeare, my syllabus changes on the basis of what's happening over there at the theater, both so that if students are so inclined, they can go see the productions that are on stage there and tie that into the work that we're doing in class. But then also, because I'm doing a lot of research always to support the work that I'm doing there, it's a way to sort of constantly be rotating in new research in my own teaching, in the ways that I approach the plays. And so if I go back and look at notes from like 5 or 6 years ago, even with a play that I've taught many times, I'll often sort of laugh and think, oh, what? I don't think that anymore, you know, because I've encountered new ideas or different interpretations in productions or in the research that I've been doing to support discussion of productions over there. So it kind of all feeds each other, you know, sort of in this cycle that's hopefully really useful for students and for the theater goers over there, sort of all combined.
Some sort of synergy.
Yes, exactly. That's a good word for it.